Hi everyone, this is Jay Harris coming to you from Tom's Trading Room. In this video presentation, I'm going to go over how to look up the valuations of your saved option trades in your tools prior to expiration and at different price points on those prior dates to expiration. A student back on the 25th, and that's why you see I have the back test date here in the tools to the 25th. The student asked about a put spread that they had on Verizon. It was a 2-point or $2 put spread, and they wanted to double check what the valuation of that spread position would be on different dates and prices prior to expiration. And here's the first way to get that done. Now I'm going to do the first way on this video. I'll do a second video, which is the second way that programmer John instructed this person as to how to look that up and get that done. So here we are back on the 25th, or you can look up any past or current option that you have saved in your tools. So with that being said, here's the 25th. I'm going to go to trades, I'm going to go to saved trades, and then left click on the saved trades line item there. I'm going to bring up the folder that that trade is in. I have it here, sample for video folder, and down below you see the 2-point, the 57.50, 59.50. Well, they had a put spread, but for educational purposes we can do it on put spreads, call spreads, or any option trade that you have in there. So click on the box for check a trade for trade tools, and in this case left click on risk graph. When you bring up the risk graph, it's going to show you that trade and all the options data for it. Down below on the risk graph, that top right panel, it's going to have the default 4 risk graph lines like it always does. The red line for how many days from now until expiration, and then split up into 4 intervals, to the black line, which is 0 days or the day of expiration. Now there's not a lot of days prior to expiration. It was a February 1st expiry done on the 25th of January, but nonetheless you can still do the same process. Scroll down to your risk graph settings panel. You'll see the number of trade lines line item there, and in the box it says 4. Let's change that to any number that you like. There's 7 days left. Let's click on 7 and then left click on the green risk graph button. When you do that, the page will refresh. Here's your risk graph page yet again, but when you scroll down now, you'll see that you have multiple different colored lines, each representing a time before expiration. In this case, 7 days, 6, 5, 4, all the way to the day of expiration. And then very simply from here, folks, if you just hover your line item, well, let's do this first. It's kind of jumbled up, and it may be hard to put your cursor on a specific line because they're so tightly put together there. Let's widen out the view of this, shall we? So what we're looking at, the bottom or the lower price, which is the bottom of the risk graph and chart panel that you see here, and then you have the top price for the upper price that's in view. So if you scroll back down to your risk graph settings box, you can go to your stock limits and you can change that lower and upper price point. So let's change the lower to 49, the upper to 62, and what we're doing is we're basically just zooming in on that risk graph and the chart panel to kind of widen out the risk graph lines so that you can more clearly see them and be a little bit more efficient with putting your risk graph arrow on the respective lines. So let's click on apply the settings to the risk graph by clicking on that apply settings green risk graph button. When the page refreshes, you're going to see that it has widened out those risk graph lines, and it has kind of tightened in or zoomed in on the price of the stock. And if you don't like that, you want it even tighter, scroll right back down here, change the numbers again for your upper and your lower pricing. Now when you get it to where you like, you go up to the risk graph and you hover your cursor on the different colored lines. So let's look at this one here, 2 days prior to expiration. When you put your cursor on that, the hover feature should populate a window, and it'll show you the profit, or the valuation should be a profit of $136 if the stock is at $59.92 with that 2 days prior to expiration. You can run your cursor up and down that line if you like. You'll want to take it off the line and back onto the line at a higher price or at a different date in order to repopulate that profit and stock box that shows up when you put your cursor on it. And you'll know that the cursor is on a line when the arrow switches into a hand. So there again, there's your profit if the stock is at that specific price point on that number of days prior to expiration. So that's the first way to look at valuation on different prices and dates prior to expiration. I'll have a follow-up video which shows you a second way to get this done. Bye for now.